Welcome back to adding and subtracting more complicated algebraic fractions. This is part 2. I had to break up the video just because it's easier to compress shorter video segments than if I were to make one big long one. So thank you for your patience and thank you for following me on to part 2. I wanted to continue with the problems that have an expression in the denominator. So here I have 5 over x plus 2 minus 1 over x minus 1. Remember, the subtraction ones can sometimes be a little bit trickier, just because whenever you're subtracting, you do a little more subtracting than what's maybe obvious. So let's start working through this. The least common denominator of this problem, my denominators are x plus 2 and x minus 1, then the LCD is just going to be the product of the two. So x plus 2 times x minus 1. So I will take the first fraction and multiply it by x minus 1 over x minus 1. The second fraction I'm going to multiply by x plus 2 over x plus 2. Remember, expand your numerators, but leave your denominators in factored form. So I'm going to leave the first denominator as x plus 2 times x minus 1, and then I'm going to expand the numerator. So I'll distribute 5 to both x and negative 1, which will give me 5x minus 5. The second fraction, I'm leaving the denominator in factored form. And in fact, I just switched my factors so that they would be consistent with the two fractions. And then when I distribute 1 to x and 2, then that just gives me x plus 2. Okay, so now I've expanded my numerators. Now I need to combine everything. I'm going to put a fraction bar, and I'll go ahead and put my common denominator in, and then I need to take 5x minus 5 and subtract x plus 2. So we're going to be subtracting both the x and the 2. So 5x minus x is 4x. And then negative 5 minus positive 2 is negative 7. So the final answer here is 4x minus 7 over x plus 2 times x minus 1. If you want to FOIL that denominator, you're more than welcome to, but you don't have to. In fact, I recommend that you don't, just because it's one less step and it's one less chance to make a careless mistake. All right, I want you to try. And the problem I want you to try is 2 over x plus 2 minus 4 over 2x plus 1. So press pause, take a few minutes, and then try and work this on your own. When you're ready to check your work, the answer will be up. Okay, if you work this problem correctly, then your answer is probably negative 6 over x plus 2 times 2x plus 1. If this is the answer you got, then great. If not, then keep watching and see if you can find where your mistake was. Alright, so least common denominator. If I have x plus 2 and 2x plus 1, I'm just going to have to use the product of those two. So I'm going to take the first fraction, 2 over x plus 2, and I'll multiply it by 2x plus 1 over 2x plus 1 minus 4 over 2x plus 1, and that's going to be multiplied by x plus 2 over x plus 2. Again, keep your denominator in factored form and expand the numerator. So 2 times 2x plus 1 is 4x plus 2. I'm going to leave this in factored form. 4 times x plus 2, that is 4x plus 8. Now that we have fractions with a like denominator. I'm going to combine, and I'll leave my denominator in factored form. That should be 2x plus 1. And then, remember, it's a subtraction problem. So this subtraction is applied to everything in the second numerator. So I'll start 4x minus 4x. Well, that's 0. So really, those two numbers cancel out. Then, positive 2 minus positive 8 is negative 6. And that's it. There are no like factors here that can cancel, so there's no further simplifying to do. Alright, we're almost done. This is our last topic. This is the least common denominator with multiple factors. Let's look at the problem so you can see what I mean. This denominator, x plus 2 times x minus 1, has two factors already. And then x minus 1. So this is kind of nice because my least common denominator needs to have an x plus 2. And then since both denominators have one x minus 1, then I only need one x minus 1. I don't need to multiply a second x minus 1 in there. In fact, if you do it, it just gets really messy. So leave it as x plus 2 times x minus 1. And also, if you do that, then you don't need to change the first fraction. Only the second one, because its denominator is just x minus 1. So I'm going to multiply the top and the bottom by x plus 2. Okay, so I'll keep the first one the same. 3 over x plus 2 times x minus 1 plus, rewrite my denominator, and then I'm going to expand, multiply x by x plus 2. That would be x squared plus 2x. So now that we have our like denominators, we get x plus 2 times x minus 1 on the bottom, and then the numerators, 3 plus x squared plus 2x, none of those terms are like, and while I'm at it, I'm going to go ahead and put it in descending order. So x squared plus 2x plus 3 over x plus 2 times x minus 1. So we might not be done yet. You want to double check and see if this numerator factors at all. And in this case, x squared plus 2x plus 3 does not factor because there are no factors of positive 3 that have a sum of 2. So that's fine. We're finished with this problem. But you always want to be on the lookout for when it does factor, because that could mean you can simplify. Alright, last problem. I want you to try x over x minus 1 minus 3 over x plus 2 times x minus 1. So press pause, give it a few minutes, and I want you to try and combine those two fractions. When you're ready to check your answer, I'll put the answer up, and if you get it correct, then great, you're done with your notes for the day and you can move on to your assignment. If not, then I want you to watch how I simplify it. So my answer is x plus 3 over x plus 2. If you got this, then great. You saw that the problem simplifies even more. If you're looking at x plus 3 over x plus 2 and you're wondering how on earth did she get that, then let's work it together. So the least common denominator here, I have x minus 1 as one of my denominators and x plus 2 x minus 1 as my other one. Then my least common denominator, I don't know why this window keeps popping up. My least common denominator is going to be x plus 2 times x minus 1. So I'll change the first fraction. by multiplying it by x plus 2, over x plus 2. And that second fraction, I can leave it alone because it already has the least common denominator. So the first one, again, I keep the denominator in factored form, and then I expand the numerator. So x times x plus 2 is x squared plus 2x. And then we have minus x minus 1, x plus 2. And then in my numerator, it's just a 3. So when I combine this, none of the terms in my numerator are like, and they have different exponents, so I'm going to put this into descending order. Okay, if you got this as your final answer, x squared plus 2x minus 3 over x minus 1, x plus 2, then you are moving in the right direction. Everything you did was correct. The only mistake is that you forgot to further simplify it. To further simplify this problem, you need to notice that the numerator x squared plus 2x minus 3 actually factors. It factors into x plus 3 times x minus 1 because positive 3, negative 1 are factors of this negative 3, and then positive 3 minus 1 has a sum of positive 2. Okay, and then I leave the denominator in factored form. That's why you don't want to expand the denominator, because if you leave it factored, then you won't have to expand and then go back and try and factor again. So we compare x plus 3 times x minus 1 over x minus 1 times x plus 2. These x minus 1's cancel, and all we are left with is x plus 3 over x plus 2. And this is the final simplified answer. All right, well, thank you very much for sticking with me for the more complicated problems. Your assignment has been listed for you, and I will see you in class next time.